Who are we missing? A couple of people, right?
Yeah, so far we do have quorum. I know Nicole is here. We are, let me see here. I think one of the presenters might be, one or two of the presenters might be missing, but so that would be a little bit afterwards. So if you wanted to start off with the agenda, you can.
Okay. All right, let's just give folks a couple of minutes to log in. Or like give folks a minute to log in. How's everyone doing? How's your weekend? And I love the pom-poms, by the way.
A cheerleader needs pom-poms.
I love it. So those of you who don't know, at the retreat, Darius and I agreed to be the cheerleaders of this committee, and Anne was so lovely and sent us pom-poms, green pom-poms, so that we can make sure to use them. And I meant to bring them, but they're at home. I totally forgot about that. But anyway, that's a lovely segment into our meeting. So let's go ahead and call to order. Andrea, can you do the roll, please?
Yes, absolutely. So it's 1:02. Eleazar has just called this meeting to order. When I call your name, please say present, as I have the attendance sheet open, so I may not be able to see you. All right. Pepe Carrillo.
Here.
Awesome. Eleazar Posada.
I'm here.
Scott Phillips.
I am here. I'm here.
And Kyoko. Andrea Martinez. I am here. Fevin Smith.
I'm here.
Okay. And Robertson.
Here.
Go. Rasha Mohammed.
Present.
Virginia Rojas.
Present.
Perfect. Elke Welmian.
Present here.
Okay. Michelle Bermeo Betancourt.
Here.
All right. Cynthia Martinez Gonzalez. Adiel Martinez Ventura.
Here.
Jordan Crumroy.
Here.
And Idalia Arellano. I don't think she's here today. Okay. I have now recorded the attendance, so you are free to move on with the rest of the agenda, Eleazar.
Quickly, Eleazar, I just wanted to note, Luis Olivieri will be interpreting for Virginia Rojas, and he will be part of the presentation in the earlier state, but he will be staying so that he can continue interpreting, just so that everybody's aware.
Thank you. So, Ana, can you bring up or share the agenda so we can go ahead and approve that and approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
All right. All in favor say aye or raise your hand in front of your cameras and wave like crazy.
Aye.
Looks like it.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward with our agenda. And as the first thing we have, of course, is the approval. That's done. Thank you, everybody. We do have a presentation from the Office of Sustainability. Our presenters are here, so let's go ahead and give I believe we set aside 15 minutes. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think we're missing, so we just did the agenda. I think we're missing the minutes to
Oh.
approve the minutes, and then we can move to that.
Sorry about that. Is there an Anne, did you approve the minute, or did you move to approve the minutes and the agenda, or just the agenda?
Should just
I
said
can
agenda.
move to approve the minutes also. Okay,
Good. So
I will second that, Anne.
thanks.
perfect. So there's been a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye or wave like crazy in front of your screen.
Aye.
Aye.
Looks like it's approved. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's go ahead and move into the presentation. The presenters are here from sustainability. So let's go ahead and give them 15 minutes for a presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Goddard, and I'm from the Office of Sustainability. Megan Anderson was meant to be joining us. I don't see her yet, but I will just jump ahead because I know time is tight. And I'm actually presenting with Fabian Rodriguez from Housing and Neighborhoods Department, and he's going to share some of the things that his office has done with the guide. So we're going to talk today about the Ready Raleigh Emergency Preparedness Guide. And this is a tool that our office has worked with a number of departments to put together for the residents of Raleigh. So if you'll just give me one moment while I share my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. And Megan was going to talk and I will talk briefly about our climate action work, because we do see emergency preparedness as being very, very closely tied to climate action. So Raleigh's first community-wide climate action plan is going to be released to the public on Tuesday. This is a huge deal for the city of Raleigh. We've never had a climate action plan that is aimed at community action in the past. Although we have, as you can see on this slide, taken a number of steps toward climate action over the past 14 years. And so that CCAP is our Community Climate Action Plan. That's what that stands for. And it has three main areas, which are looking at buildings and energy, transportation and land use, and resilience and cross-cutting. And so the most connection with the Emergency Management Guide is the resilience and cross-cutting area. Andrea, I see that you have a hand up. Did you have a question?
I'm trying to undo that. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And it's fine to ask questions as well. And so our guide really has our climate action plan has three main goals, which is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's the primary one. Our goal is an 80% reduction by the year 2050. Building community resilience, and supporting equitable development and climate equity. I'm not going to go into the equity definition and read this for you. The slides are available to you, but equity was an important component of everything we did with the climate action plan. And it really was something that we analyzed really deeply with internal city stakeholders and external community members to understand how we should implement the strategies in the plan to the best effect for the entire community. But we do have a number of different assessments that have fed this plan, state level, Wake County, and then some regional work that we've done with other municipalities. But jumping into the Ready Raleigh Guide, Ready Raleigh was actually started in probably late 2019. And we were planning a huge Earth Day event for 2020. So Earth Day is April 20th. And as you all know, April 20th was not a time that we were all going to be coming together as a community last year. But 7 different departments in the city, housing and neighborhoods, planning and development, solid waste services, the Raleigh Police Department, the fire department, emergency management, and our office, the Office of Sustainability, all came together to say this is a tool that our residents need and would help them prepare for emergencies. And it would be a great thing to roll out on Earth Day, because as we're thinking about climate change, the impacts of climate change are going to be something that is going to cause a lot more natural disasters to happen in our community. So this is a big part of resilience building, preparing for snowstorms like we saw in the last couple of weeks in Texas. Those are very closely related to climate change. preparing for more frequent, stronger hurricanes that affect us here. I believe this is a picture of Hurricane Florence down here on the left. And then, you know, our normal rains and floods that wash out I-40 and surface streets and can cause a lot of damage, but also can be really dangerous for people. And so this is really the way we think about resilience is as a way to protect people. Everything we do to build resilience is a way of protecting people. If we have people who are prepared for emergencies and disasters, and they're living in safe and secure buildings surrounded by reliable and connected infrastructure, each of those things acts like an onion, a layer of an onion that protects the people. So it's really about lives and livelihoods. So a little bit about the guide itself. It's designed in 3 sections. The first section we called Be Connected. And this really just gives a ton of phone numbers, email addresses, websites, news sites for people to get into to find reliable information. So we have, as you can see on these charts, there's phone numbers for city departments, county and state offices that address emergencies. And then we also have a blank space where people can input their own emergency information and their own utilities and their veterinarian, their doctor, their kid's school. So all of that information is in one place, and in an emergency situation, you grab one book and it's all there for you. The next section we called Be Prepared. And so this helped guide people through the process of creating an emergency kit, putting together a household emergency plan. And the other piece of this that we thought was really, really important was encouraging people to connect with their neighbors. So we had these 3 steps for working and connecting with your neighbors and your sort of social circle here, which is check in before an emergency. We know a hurricane is coming. Check on your neighbors. Do they need help going to the grocery store? Do they need help bringing in outdoor furniture? Outdoor furniture is an interesting one. If you think about someone who perhaps lives alone and might not have great mobility, that person might not be able to bring in outdoor furniture. And if we have high winds, that can blow into a window, knock over, other things in their yard, and it could be really expensive and really time consuming. A neighbor could spend 10 minutes helping them bring in that furniture, and it can save thousands of dollars. So these are really little things that we're asking people to take account of to really help prepare as a community rather than just as a household. And then during an emergency, stay in touch on the phone as long as there's power, making sure that you have a plan to check in, a plan for after to check in, following up afterwards. And this includes things like sharing some, communication needs or medical needs that, people are comfortable with. But if there was an emergency and first responders came, a neighbor can be vital in sharing that kind of information with them, and that can be life-saving. So there are very small steps we can do to actually build our resilience as a community overall. This is a great book. If anybody has an interest in natural disasters, Heatwave looks at the 1995 heat wave in Chicago, which was a devastating disaster for that city. But what really the key finding of that came out of it for me was that the communities that were connected to one another, that checked in on people, had better survivability in the case of a heat wave. So building connections among neighbors helps people prepare, endure, and recover from a disaster. And one of the great quotes from this is that the toll of natural disasters is not natural. These affect people, but it's infrastructure, it's policy that leads to these impacts. And as people are isolated from their community, from services, they are at higher risk of suffering illness, injury, or death, even in a disaster. So a big part of preparedness is connection. And the last section of the guide, we've called Be Informed. And that really gives step-by-step instructions about 16 different types of disaster or emergency that could affect the city of Raleigh, and tells people what to do before, during, and after. So we look at things like hurricanes, even pandemics are in there. I mean, I think we're all now pandemic survival experts. And that was something that we wrote pre-pandemic, and I went back as we were editing it once we were all under stay-at-home orders, and I found that was actually pretty good. We tell people to wash their hands, stay out of public spaces and things like that. So it's very solid guidance. The guidance in the guide comes from FEMA and North Carolina's Department of Emergency Management, and so it's very tested guidance that we're giving our community. But the really cool thing that I'm super excited that we get a chance to share with you today is some of the outreach that we've done in the Spanish speaking community that Fabian and Luis have taken the lead on. And so I'm going to turn over to them and let them talk about that now.
Hi, everybody. It's very good to see you all today again. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for allowing us this time to talk about this amazing resource that we have for the primarily Spanish speaking community in Raleigh. Just so you know, this amazing guide is already available to be downloaded and be shared with our community. We prepared this little flyer you see on your left as a way to outreach the guide to the community. Just not as a link or something on an you see, but actually a flyer that people can see and make a connection to the guide. We can go to the next slide, please. We've been working very hard to make sure that the community knows about this resource. It's obviously on the city of Raleigh. We've been trying to share it on social media, primarily with our Spanish-speaking people. We've been on Univision, Enlace Latino, some other nonprofit organizations, and by email to all of our contacts. Next slide, please. And so we receive a lot of emails back from the people that were very grateful for the City of Raleigh doing this. And I feel honored to be able to be just the liaison to bring you guys this guide. And we can go to the next slide, please. I feel very privileged to be here with you guys today because we're here asking for your help. All of the things we've done are not enough to get this resource to the Spanish-speaking community. We need the help of you, the board, all of your contacts, all of your networks, to please share and spread the good information on this guide. As Nicole was mentioning, when all of us are prepared and we have taken the time to have our little emergency kit in our house and prepare our little kids, prepare our pets, prepare our elderly, then as a community, we're more resilient. As a community, we're prepared. Unfortunately, many of the times, represented communities or underserved communities suffer the most because sometimes they don't have the resources or the education they need to be well prepared for an emergency. So I ask you to please today share it on your social medias, your networks, share with family and friends, and please use the guide to prepare yourself and your family. I'd like to let you know that in the Hispanic initiatives group with Luis and I, we're working right now on preparing a small seminar or conference that will mix a little bit of this guide with how to maintain your home coming up in mid-March. And I'll make sure to share this information with you guys through Aracelis. So hopefully you guys can share with your networks too, and people can start getting ready. You know, start with that mentality that spring is coming and storms and hurricanes are coming our way. And also this coming Tuesday, I'd like to take the opportunity to let you know we are starting a program called Talleres de Gobierno Local, or TGL, and it's based on a very popular City Raleigh program called RNC College, Raleigh Neighborhood College, that is meant to prepare residents of the city and learn about how the city government works. By this time, it's gonna be in Spanish. So we want our community, Hispanic, Latino community, or immigrant community, to benefit from all the resources that the city has to offer, and how they can learn about it is through this class. So we can go to the next slide, please. So Thank you for your time. Please contact us if you have any questions regarding the guide in Spanish. And if you have some cool ideas on how we can make it reach more people, a lot more people in the community, please communicate with us. Our information is on the slides. I don't think your information is here, Nicole. By all means, please communicate with Nicole on the sustainability department with the city and emergency management. They're great. They're amazing. Does anybody have any question for me at this time? Thank you for your time.
I have a question that may or may not be the most helpful to ask at this moment, Fabian, but I'm curious about if there are immigrant members, community members that do live in the city of Raleigh, but perhaps have family, extended family that may live in other places. Is there a way, or have we considered how to help the family members in Raleigh stay connected to, perhaps if they have a family member that lives in Johnston County or Eastern North Carolina, around emergency kind of work?
That's a good question. Thank you. And what I could tell you that I know is that Wake County has a lot of great resources. The state itself has resources themselves, and FEMA. So perhaps the guide, it's help or focus for the community in Raleigh, but the people from any other community is more than welcome to download it and use it. But Wake County itself and the state, they have also great resources, even YouTube videos, even information in Spanish, that when you go to the City of Raleigh Sustainability website or energy emergency management, there are links there that might be able to take you to the FEMA and to the Wake County resources. So maybe that might help some of the communities. When I was doing some of the research for our presentation with Univision, I was surprised of how good Wake County and the state does when it comes to emergency management. And even a lot of those resources are in Spanish. So I encourage you to please visit those sites too.
Thank you so much for your response. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a quick, this is Scott. I have a quick question about what other languages might be made available besides Spanish and English for some of this, because I'm thinking about, Chinese is the third most spoken language in Wake County, and then we have Arabic and Farsi and Urdu and Swahili and etc.
So we've been talking to our partners in emergency management. The best way we see to go forward with large scale translations is with actually putting the content of the guide up online and having the sort of online translator tools available. And I think there's a number of languages that our city website can be translated into. In terms of the sort of in the short term, that would be our bridge having the full translation, maybe a longer term project for us.
Would y'all have any problems? I was just thinking about like the form that you have is really cool and everything, and I would love to get it out to folks sooner rather than later as a handout, as a flyer or whatever. If somebody took it and was able to translate it.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
No, that's great. And all of that is in the guide. That is something we've also talked about, is can we make those little modular pieces to distribute those fill out the phone number sheet so you have that ready to go.
Okay.
So anything people want to take, if they want to share it back with us and something we can share, we'd be happy to do that as well.
All right, Nicole and Fabian, thank you so much for her presentation and for joining us today. Is there any additional questions before we let our presenters have the rest of their Saturday?
I would just say this sounds like another, this is Jordan, sounds like another example of why having a comprehensive language access policy is important. Because having Google Translate on the website is a great first step, but it's like to have volunteers translating, like you're in crisis mode and it's life or death and it's not a certified translator is really dangerous. Like it's not a flyer about like get a backpack in the park, right? Or like popsicles at the local church. So to not have life-saving information that's translated by professional translators is really bad practice. So not on you, Nicole, but I'm saying this is a great example that I think the city could take and say like, this can't be outsourced. Like it's great that there are nonprofits willing to have people do it for free, but like this really needs to be a line item. And I think that's just another example of like a vital city. Like you guys have created the infrastructure, which is a first step. And so then taking it to the next level and getting professional translations seems like a great example of yet another way that language access needs to be incorporated through different departments. So in case you need another example, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I would fully agree. And I think printing as well for something like this is an important feature because if the power goes out, the internet doesn't exist. And so having it at hand, filled out, ready to go is something that would be important in any language as well.
I have a question. Who would handle the translation? Like, that's not done under your department or any of the departments. That's the communications department, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
our communications and our print services team sets that up for us, and it's outsourced. And there's some translators that work with the state, I believe, are the ones that took this piece on.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional questions or comments? Yeah, so seeing none, I would echo some of the concerns that Jordan brought up. Maybe definitely there needs to be a language access or equity plan, specifically talking about this very crucial and many times life-saving communication. So I know it's not on you, Nicole. I'm not trying to put it on you, but yeah, I definitely echo some of those comments about having that plan, specifically when we move more or you know, as like hurricane season comes up, as different other emergencies come through, we need to be able to reach people the most languages and most communities as possible. But I say thank you so much for presenting today for this very important conversation, and we'll give you the rest of your Saturday off. Go have fun, enjoy your day.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to meet you all, and perhaps next time in person.
Hopefully, and let's get everybody vaccinated, and then we'll
Yes.
talk about that.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. All right, moving on with our agenda. Let me double check that I have this correct. Yes, we move on to staff liaison report. Ara, I believe that's for you.
Would be for me. So I know that later on you guys will be talking a little bit about the Raleigh Unity event. So just I would kind of just bring in something earlier. Drop off for Raleigh Unity is so our event distribution was last Saturday, but there is a second phase to Raleigh Unity, which is the drop off. And the drop off are items that were packaged in the last 2 weeks. That need to be distributed to shelters and different sites where they will be going to for the community. So I encourage you, once the email comes out, for you to sign up. This would definitely be less contact than the previous event where people were, driving by and getting stuff. This would be just you pick up and you drop off at a site. So it would be mostly contactless. We are going to need a lot of help, and we are definitely calling on our boards for support on this piece. And the date set for that is March 6th. So there's more to come. I will send you information once everything has been kind of set, what dates you can pick up, what dates you can drop off, and so forth. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any questions for Ada before we move on?
No, but Eleazar, if you want me to talk about the bylaws and work
Yes.
plan updates, I'm happy to do that.
Yes, let's do that. As you all know, there was a presentation before the city council. Unfortunately, I was not able to join, but I do want to say thank you so much for Andrea and Enrique and Ara for taking care of that and doing a wonderful job. So Andrea, if you want to go into that report, just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so first of all, it went great. This was only possible through the great work of our board working together on the bylaws and the work plan, and the leadership team and the staff at the city of Raleigh to make this all come together. It really was a huge breadth of work. The thing that I most wanted to point out to you all is, so the work plan was passed without comment or need to change anything. There was a small issue with the bylaws. I wouldn't say so much issue, but they wanted to make sure that the language is evading me, conflict of interest portion of the bylaws was consistent with the City of Raleigh policy across their other boards. So the city attorney is going to be taking a look at that. We haven't heard any feedback yet, but pending that, the board passed our bylaws as well, seeking that change and just waiting for that feedback from the city attorney. And then as of right now, as far as our budget goes as a board, we do not have a budget until the new fiscal year in June. However, and they're not giving out funds right now because it is a COVID emergency, and those monies that would be given to us originally have to be rerouted. Of course, less taxes are coming in and everything. So everything is going towards the current crisis. So our plan right now, in speaking with Dr. Caesar and RSLE, is to still move forward with our work on a level, and then ask for funds that may be needed for the communications plan. I believe it was communications who asked to hold a virtual listening session about community needs during and post-pandemic for the Hispanic and immigrant communities. So even though we don't have specific funds as a board right now, we're still able to ask, I believe it's City of Raleigh offices for some of that to support this event. So that's part of the work plan that we'll be pushing now, and many of those goals that we established in the goal plan will be rolled over into the new fiscal year. And then, and I was there at Raleigh Unity this past week. All of the pairs were involved with planning it. It went, what a cool event. Sad at the same time, because when I first arrived, I couldn't even see the end of the car line. But just to echo what RSLE said, volunteers will definitely be needed for the event on March 6th. So if you'd like to help, if you'd like to get your family involved, if you'd like to get your coworkers, other volunteers involved, that would be fantastic. Do any of the other chairs?
Elke, if you have anything to add, I will say, echo again the huge gratitude I have for both of you for stepping in. I had to be home sick, so thank you all for stepping in. But Elke, do you have anything to add before we move on? All right. Any questions or comments before we move on to the next point?
One of the things that Andrea talked about, just for clarifications. So it was, yes, confirming the removal of the section for conflict of interest. So I'm confirming that. And there was one other piece they did ask us to remove, which this was something that we had suggested as an office because we thought it had to be there, which was the alternates. So we had talked originally about having the 2 alternates coming into the board. But when management reviewed that, they let our office know that it is something that was not selected for this board specifically. So just as an FYI, letting you know that for that piece. So it was just the word alternates. I think and I will confirm to you in under, in a second here, Article 3. where it talks about members and it specifies that we do have 8 professional members and 7 community members and 2 alternates. We just removed that word that says 2 and 2 alternates.
So, Mara, to clarify then, does that mean so the city attorney did get back, they advised taking out that section with the understanding that City of Raleigh policy already covers conflict of interest?
Correct.
Okay, so that means potentially we can vote on passing these suggested changes from City Council today? Or do we?
Well,
need to
it
do
was
that? Do we
approved.
make
It
a
was
motion?
approved with that, so I don't think you have to vote on it because they're the ones that voted on it. So yes, so it's approved with the changes. So we're good to go. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you both for that, and again for all the work being done behind the scenes. All right. Any questions before we move on? Seeing none, let's go into some of the meatier. Sorry, I mean these are all important, but there's some of the more topic of discussion today, and there's a couple of things that we have to look at. First is, well, there's 2, and I'll introduce both, and then we'll talk about each of them. So first, there's a question about, or not a question, but suggestion about extending the time of the both chairs. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Those are, I think, old business under number 7.
Oh, did I miss something?
I think, yeah, I think you skipped that one.
Oh, sorry about that. Old business, subcommittees, right? I may be looking at an old form. Hold up, that was totally my bad. Sorry, guys. Okay, so yep, I was looking at an old one. Old business is the discuss interest of committees or subcommittees. So as y'all know, we had a retreat last month, and we asked folks to identify in which committees they wanted to serve in. We have not received feedback from everyone, and we have yet to decide who's going to be in which committee. So from now until next meeting, we need to make sure that we set those appointments, right? So that those committees can start working. So you sent out a survey, right? You sent out a survey. Some folks answered. So we need to be able to identify where folks are. So here's what I'm proposing, and then we can go with this or not. From now till let's give everybody a week, right, to email Andrea and myself or Elke what committees you want is your most like your top choice, right? So your top choice, and then give us an additional committee that you would be able to serve on, right? Because I know community engagement is on top of a lot of people's choices, right? So we don't want to, and we can't put everyone in that one because then that would just be a board meeting, right? It wouldn't be a subcommittee, it would just be the whole committee. So does that work for everyone, where we send Andrea and the chairs an email saying, this is my first choice and your second choice? That way we can make sure to, by next meeting, be able to assign everyone to the subcommittee that they sit on. Does that sound good for everybody? Thumbs up, yes.
I'll send an email today reminding everyone, so you can just reply to that email. I see Rasha asked, can we individually confirm whether or not we confirmed? Maybe. I honestly, just for ease of systemic work, you can go ahead and email me today or sometime this week what your top 2 choices are for the board, and we can go ahead and arrange you. And also with the knowledge that often these working groups work collaboratively anyway, so even if you don't get your top choice or your second choice, because we do have to make sure that each working group has a fair representation in community members and professional members. So everyone may not get their top choice, but we still all work together collaboratively on these projects anyway. So hopefully we.
Perfect. There's trying to find something in chat. Okay, yeah. So make sure to send within the next couple of days, a week, that email. If we don't receive something from you, we're just gonna assign folks to, where we need folks. So I'd rather give people choices, right? But if we don't hear back, we'll just put you where we need you. Does that work for everybody?
Especially since the work needs to be rolling, June is the end of our fiscal year, and we are hoping, as promised to City Council, to have that community listening session having occurred by then. So it's not that much time.
Yeah. Perfect. So thank you so much. And the sooner we get those, the sooner we can get a committee assignments. And our plan is to have people in committees by next meeting. So, you'll be receiving an email letting folks know where you're assigned to and who the chairs of those committees will be, so that we can start having those committees meet outside of our regular meeting. Perfect. Any questions on that before we move on? Seeing none. Y'all are super efficient today.
No, I have a comment. I just noted in the chat that 6 of y'all, Rosh, Jordan, and Abdiel, Feb, and Scott, filled out a survey, and I didn't want to confuse you guys. The survey that you guys filled out was for the work plan. If you are okay with the information that's noted on that survey, we do have that information. But that the survey that was filled out I think a month or 2 ago, was for the work plan. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. So the survey that was filled out was for the work plan, where we were trying to get people into different subcommittees to establish the work of each committee. So now that we're moving into actually putting people in the committees that were established at the work plan meeting, now we just need to get feedback, right? So that's why if you did fill out, please feel free to do the same as everyone and send us an email saying either, yeah, I continue to want to be in these 2 committees, or this continues to be my top one, and so on and so forth. Does that clear up for folks? Perfect. All right. Anything else before we move on to the next agenda item? Cool. Number 8, action item. We're looking at first attendance review. I believe Ada, that's yours, or who's doing attendance review? Did I freeze up? Hello?
Not sure. I know we had talked about attendance. Some of the members, we had, with the leadership team, we did have a discussion from some of the members that were not attending the meeting, and this might be 4th or 5th meeting for them. So with the amount of meetings we've had, that's been more than 50% for some of them not participating. So I don't know how you guys would kind of lead. I know that general procedure is for you guys to, in the way you've put it in your bylaws, is that it's an automatic resignation. It still has to go to council because council is the one that opens the avenue for new members to come into your board. And obviously, you guys are a board of 15, and you want to have 15 actively, active members. I don't know if Elke is going to talk more about this, or Eleazar, regarding attendance, or it's
Yeah, and I could talk a little bit more about it, and also just inform folks that part of the work is being present, right? So, and I don't need y'all are here, right? So maybe this is preaching to the choir, but it is very important for all of us to be present and to be engaged. So I do want to let folks know that those who've identified who have missed more than what the bylaws permits. I know that there's specific circumstances where people can't attend. For example, last meeting I had to be absent, right? While I was at the work plan meeting, I couldn't be at the actual board or at the committee meeting. But there's circumstances where folks can't attend, and we understand that. But there's others where we don't, we don't get notice, or folks just don't show up. So if it is okay, or if we move forward with the understanding that we will submit those names who have not shown up for about 50% of the of our meetings, we'll submit those to the city council for either automatic resignation terms or removal proceedings. Yeah, so I guess that's the announcement, right? So do we need to vote on that?
So I know that so it's going to be a written letter to that's submitted to our office, and then we take it to council to move forward with that. Yeah, go ahead. I know that you guys do everything via vote, so it is a good working format. I would say go ahead and move forward with that. And I do know in conversations with the leadership team that people have been reached. So I know that, that is another thing, people have been reached just to follow up to see, are they okay, any purpose? So there has been follow up with individuals on a side as well. And no contact to our office. And that is, another thing is, either you can contact our office or you guys have leadership that you can contact. So we have not received any email. And there have been phone calls made, and no one has reached back via voicemail or email.
Yeah, Andrea, can you tell us, or maybe add who those individuals are, so that everyone's on the same page?
I can't tell you exactly off the top of my head. I can review the past minutes and get back to you on that. Would it be more of making a motion to automatically remove members to or submit that to city council for who have missed more than 50% of meetings thus far?
I think so, but I
Go
think
ahead,
Elke had a comment.
I have the names right now at this moment, I believe, of the individuals at this time that have not been able to attend our meeting. Idalia Arellano, and I think she's under professional, and Cynthia Martinez.
All right, so those are the two folks that we've identified so far. So I guess the motion I would want someone to make is to authorize the leadership team to oversee the attendance records, and those who have not kept up with the bylaws requirements submit in a letter to council for removal and replacement procedures. I guess that's the motion that I want to see. Would that be in line with what we need, Ara? Yeah. So is anyone willing to make that motion?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right. So Scott Phillips has moved. Adiel Martinez has seconded. The motion on the floor for a vote is to authorize the leadership team to review the attendance records and then submit to council a letter for removal proceedings for those who have not kept up with the requirements set forth by the board in their bylaws. We'll do this as a roll call vote just to make sure we get everyone's vote on that. So let's start with I'll start with what's on my screen, or do you want to Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works for me.
Perfect. So first on my screen is actually Andrea. Your vote?
I approve.
Next is Eliazar Posada. I, Pepe.
I approve.
Thank you. Anne.
I approve.
Scott.
I approve.
Once we've made our vote, just make sure to mute yourself so that we don't hear background noises. Virginia. Virginia has raised her hand, so I'll take that as an approve. Fabian.
I approve.
Thank you. Raja.
I approve.
Thank you. Jordan.
I approve.
Adiel.
I approve.
Elke.
I approve.
Michelle.
I approve.
All right, and then unanimous vote. This has motion has approved, and the leadership team will give you all a full report as to those who we will send to council. And this is not part of what we look forward to, but like I said, we have to move forward, and we have to have a full board to be able to do the work. So, all right. Thank you everybody for that. Move on to term B, which is the terms of secretaries and chairs. As there's a couple of things that I'll go through, and then we'll put it up for a vote. I know we have like 9 minutes left, so I'll try to be really quick. First is that in order to ensure that the board doesn't all drop off at one time, there's been the notion to extend half of the board's original term by a year, so that we are segmenting off, right? So each year we get new members as their term ends. But before we get to that, we wanted to put up to the board the notion of extending the chairs and the secretary's term by a year, so that we have so that we can continue the leadership for one additional year before the termination of our term. And the thinking of that is, as we just got our plan approved, our bylaws approved last month, we haven't really been able to get into any of the work. And because we actually have to extend also the time of folks, we want to make sure that we can continue to look over all this work we're doing without any hiccups or having to go through any transition period at the moment that we're just beginning, right? So that is what we were putting forward to folks to think about and discuss, whether y'all would be okay with and approve that the chairs and the secretary's term is extended by a year as our first term, as our full incorporated board, before we move on to deciding whose term we would extend, general term would extend to a year. But I believe that sums up the first point of discussion. I don't know if Andrea or Elke have any comments to add or any clarifying notions. Anna?
Yeah, so just for clarifications, this would not mean that that you wouldn't have to vote every so what you guys have said is that for every retreat meeting, which means I think you'll have your next retreat meeting in June. So for every retreat meeting, you will be having new leadership come in, whether it's you three again, you still have to go through the voting process. That's just for clarifications in case anybody has that question. So it's an extension to 3 years versus the 2 years. but you would still have to go through the voting process. That means that, come June, you'll still go through the voting process. You're just extending so that you have an extra year where you can still get voted into still being part of the leadership team, correct?
Yeah.
So I have a question about that. So the working plan in June, so our appointments are from when to when at Astelis exactly?
So one of the things you guys have in your bylaws is that when the retreat comes over, that is your time where you will be reelected. I know that because your board started, I think you met, the first time you met was August. I think September is when you got voted in as leadership.
It was October. That's why I'm asking. So
Okay.
we covered that conversation. I
October
think,
was your first
during-
meeting, but I think your election date was September. So you got voted in September. At the end of September was when you got voted, voted into. So you started the first meeting that was led, I think by Eleazar, was in October.
Yeah.
And I
So-
think they set, my understanding is that the set date for you guys is the day you get voted in, and that was September 26th.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, so the proposal is to, in effect, extend our ability for terms a year. So therefore, in June, June, that's when our retreat is. When elections occur, we can run for re-election for the additional terms.
Are you
Does that
seeking a motion?
Well, I first wanted to discuss, and then if there is a motion, depending on discussion, how people feel about it, ultimately there has to be a motion. But I want to open up the floor for discussion first, before we move to that.
Well, I'd like discussion because I happen to know that Andrea and Eleazar and Elke have put in a huge amount of work. When you get started, when it's very first and it's just a concept, the three of them work so very, very hard. And I think I'm totally excited about the idea that this is a possibility. So I'm very much in favor of them continuing for another year.
Is there any other points of discussion? Thank you, Anne.
I would just echo that. I think it's important to make sure that there is stability of leadership, especially with a new set of folks and everything. With new people coming in, you're going to want to make sure that we're staying steady. So yeah, I think it would be a really good idea if we did this.
Thank you, Scott. I know that Adiel had his hand up, and then we can move to next.
Yeah, I just want to comment that I do agree with my previous with both of them. I think it's really important to have that stability in order for the new members to come in, so they have that stability, for it to become a successful, for all the plans that I have in the future. So I do agree, and I do appreciate all your hard work, all three of you.
Thank you. Is there any additional comments or motions at the time?
I like it. That's my only comment.
Yeah, my comment is, what happens to the reaction? I wanted to throw like the confetti and it's not there.
Well, in that, if there's no more comments, is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I move that you continue for another year as our fearless leaders.
Is there a second? Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, so motion was put forth by Anne and seconded by Jordan for the leadership team to continue or extend their term by a year. This is, again, a roll call vote, so please, when I call your name, unmute yourself and give us your vote, and mute yourself afterwards to make sure that there's no background noise. Andrea, we'll start with you again. Oh, did we lose Andrea?
I'm here. I approve. Did you hear
Next
me?
is,
Oh.
yeah, I got you. Andrea approves. Next is Eliasar, and that's me. I vote aye as well. Anne,
I approve.
Scott,
I approve.
Virginia, I think that's a yes. I think so. Okay, we'll take that as yes. Oh yeah, thumbs
Approve.
up. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so Andrea votes aye. Fabian,
Did you hear me? I approve.
thank you. Raja,
I approve.
Jordan,
I approve.
Adiel,
I approve.
Elke,
I approve.
Michelle.
I approve.
Matter passes unanimously. Thank you everybody for your awesome comments and for your trust you've put in us as the leadership team. Thank you so much. I know that we're at 2, so last thing I'll bring up before, yeah.
Well, just a
Andrea?
point on the next one. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Oop. Okay. I think it might be good to table the discussion on voting members who will be extending terms, just because I can also use that email that we're talking about, the different groups working groups people want to be in, to ask and see if which members are specifically interested, and then we can vote them in on the next meeting.
Perfect. Yes.
If
So
we can do it today. We can vote to extend our meeting today, but
yeah. So that was going to be my point, right? We're at 2, so I wanted to let folks know that we need to, half of the board has to be extended by a year, which now with Andrea, Elke, and myself being extended, we need 3 of folks who are in the professional category and 2 who are in the community category. Andrea? Oh no, sorry, Ara.
1 actually for community is 1 because it's 7, so it's 3 and 4.
That's right. So 2 from the professional category, 1 from the community category to want to extend their regular term by a year as well, so that your term doesn't end next year, but it ends the year after that. And then the board or the city council can appoint someone else to fill your seat, or reappoint you if you want to stay. And because we are running out of time, or we actually ran out of time, if you have an interest in extending your term on this on this board by a year, please, in the same email that you're letting us know about what committees you want to serve on, let us know if you're interested in that, and then we can do a final vote on members who are those 2 professional community members in those categories will be extended by an additional year. So does that make sense for folks? Yeah, that way we can, we're staggering when people come on and drop off of the board. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you all won't be able to be reappointed by the city council. It just means that when people are appointed, will be staggered so that we don't have a full drop off or for a new board every other year. All right, so that is to give some thought. Andrea will be sending an email, and please let us know if you want to be considered for that extension. We do have to vote on it coming in next meeting, so please do send that over within the week. So we can also put that in the meeting to establish who is willing to stay on, so that then we can do set up the vote for that. Any comments, questions before I open a motion for adjournment? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Is there any public comment?
Oh, is there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. Given there is no public comments, there's no more further points to discuss. Is there a motion to adjourn on the floor? Anyone?
A motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Is there a second? All in favor say aye and wave like crazy in front of your cameras.
Aye.
All right, thank you everybody. It's been a great meeting, and I will see you all next month, and thank you again for the trust you've put in your leadership team.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
everyone.
weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Enjoy
you
your
so much,
Saturday.
y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.